the CEO of Publisher Research Council, Josephine Buys, who during her 20-year career in media and marketing, Josephine has represented several of South Africa's publishers, including GQ at the launch. As the founding CEO of IABSA, Josephine promoted the acceleration of the growth of digital on behalf of publishers, agencies, and brands. As a marketer, she understands the challenges of finding the right medium for brand messages. As a media professional, she champions the power of the written word. Josephine supports the president's endeavor to ensure that every child can read for meaning by the age of 10, and she's a co-founder of the initiative in collaboration with SA Human Rights Council to have universal access to the internet declared a human right. Josephine, I would like to welcome you to our panel. Thank you so much for joining us. So just starting off, I would like to ask you, so you have said, you have said, as far as you're concerned, print will not die. So let me just start you off there. You said, as far as you're concerned, print publishing will not die. Can you elaborate on that as you also give us your insights and more?
Thank you for the opportunity to be part of this insightful conversation and to talk about my passion today. And yes, I am on the record with my belief that print will never die. Instead, I believe print media will evolve and become a valuable new niche. As you've mentioned, I'm the CEO of the Publisher Research Council. It's a joint industry council which represents all the major publishers in South Africa, including Condé Nast. We produce a biennial publisher audience measurement survey, PAMS, which is the reading currency that delivers an accurate measure of reading behavior across multiple platforms, including newspapers and magazines. We pioneered a fusion approach to media research in South Africa. This simply means that we fused multiple data sets to create more powerful market research for planners and advertisers. For example, we're now able to prove through multiple studies that readers earn more than non-readers across the entire spectrum of society. Global research echoed by us in South Africa indicates that boomers and Gen X do read, whether on screen or paper. Younger generations, of course, need to be enticed into reading the quality content publishers create for screens. So while the establishment survey found that only 1/3 of South Africans read, the majority of SAM 8 to 10 do read, which is why we champion the written word, and our slogan is read to remember. Analysts would call this read to recall, as opposed to viewing, listening, or glancing. So Condé Nast asked me to share some insights into the media landscape for both publishers and readers since the COVID pandemic set in. What we have been seeing even before lockdown is that readers are alive and well. They're simply changing platforms. In a recently conducted study, we've tracked ad spend and audiences since the beginning of lockdown. This tracker, which measures economic activity, shows a top-line summary of expenditure and, where possible, audience changes with a comparable period in 2019. As most of us are aware, advertisers largely pulled up the handbrake on advertising spend when lockdown commenced. So as to be expected, the study shows gradually declining percentages of ad spend month by month, with May 2020 down 37% year on year. In this context, I'd like to share a quote that I read this morning at the Media Online from Paula Sartini, the CEO of Brand Quantum. She says, history shows us that companies typically opt to go dark during times of crisis to avoid positioning the brand negatively. However, this approach does more damage than good. Rather, those companies that continue with their marketing campaigns are viewed more positively and survive a crisis better than those that don't. And I couldn't agree more. What is clear, print has suffered badly during lockdown for obvious reasons, and our sector has suffered casualties as a result. The big theme that has emerged is that COVID has acted as a catalyst for digital transformation, not just in media, but in all sectors. As you mentioned, I was the founding CEO of the IAB in my previous role, and there I championed digital acceleration. And as an eternal optimist, I see a brighter side of this pandemic. The fact that companies are now more comfortable with people working remotely means less traffic on the roads, which in turn means less carbon emissions. Less time in traffic means better productivity, and I would argue better mental health. Families have spent time together that I believe in time we will look back on with nostalgia, as we would never have spent this amount of time together without the pandemic and the subsequent lockdown. We've all heard about nature and wildlife returning to its former glory, and not to mention what every nursery teacher taught every one of us, that washing our hands properly prevents germs. In the context of what we're here to discuss today, the most exciting of these shifts in the behavior is that e-commerce has grown exponentially. Almost everything can be bought online and delivered to our door. While the customer journey has many touch points, I would argue that at the end of the sales funnel, many of us will read more about the product during the consideration phase before we click to purchase. Consumers have been pushed out of their comfort zones and they're happily armchair shopping. This looks likely to continue long after lockdown ceases. The PRC lockdown activity tracker shows that there was a massive surge in online readership at the beginning of lockdown. And while it has leveled out somewhat over the last 120 days, we're still seeing double the online traffic that was recorded pre-pandemic. This trend will continue. Readers want to be informed and educated as well as entertained, whether it's online or via printed media. While I agree that digital is a critical part of the brand and channel mix, print continues to be recognized as a trusted, brand-safe environment for advertisers. We know that consumers want to have a deeper, more engaged user experience when they read something in a magazine. Trusted titles allow for that one-on-one deeper engagement, and we meet them where they are, be it looking for home, beauty, fashion, inspirational information. Magazines have a deep-rooted and trusted relationship with their readers and have an important role to play in curating products for consumers by the quality of their content. So while some readers like me, who still enjoy the tactile, uninterrupted experience with our favorite titles, will continue to buy printed media, others, especially young people, will continue to build their relationships with their favorite titles and media brands online. So where brands meet them will be critical to the success of any campaign. With online marketing set to move from invasive cookie-based behavioral targeting to contextual marketing in the privacy age, Condé Nast and others who create excellent content across platforms will not only survive but thrive as consumers cautiously emerge from lockdown into the next normal.